Well, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Catching Up with the Nerds with Dave. Oh my God, I'm stealing your intro, Dave. Dave.
Just going to start pointing in random directions.
Yeah. No, because I know.
Great start of the year.
Yeah. We've got Sarah down there somewhere, who's back with us, as somebody would say. And, well, not new here, but James is back also with us from How to Game Differently. Look at that. Look at that. I've got my own Sinister 4, I guess. I'm going to say Sinister 6, but you know, we need another 2 for that.
Well, the movie's full of crossovers, so we're a crossover now, and Happy New Year.
Crossing up there. Happy New Year to all of you.
Year.
2022. Let's see what we, what's in store for that one, because the last couple of years have been so fucking magic. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Good. How are we all doing?
Good.
Very
good. Good. Looking forward to it.
I still feel like I'm in 2021. It doesn't feel like a new year yet because it's just the same.
Yeah, it's not registered yet. Me neither. I don't.
It's when you start having to write down the new date on everything. That's when you start like, oh crap, I'm in the new year now.
Yeah, I sent an email and I went 2021, and I thought, let's get on with it. Right, what are we here for, guys?
Spiderman.
Yes. Get it going. I don't care about the copyright claims. Keep singing. Right. You may have seen with the episode title, we are here to talk about Spider-Man. Was it No Way Home? I was going to say Far From Home. No Way Home, which is the third and not final, hopefully not final. What's his face again? Not Peter Parker. I was going to call him Peter Parker.
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland's part of the trilogy, the Tom Holland's trilogy, we call it. So we all went to see it.
Not together.
Not together.
Is important.
Exactly. We are safe that way. And so we are about to go through the film, the plot, discuss what we liked, what we didn't like. Obviously, it's a non-spoiler free zone. So if you're listening now, it's either because you've watched the film or you just don't care and you just want to get it spoiled. So that's fair enough. You've been warned. And I am going to say, let's get right into it. So what I'm going to do is go through the film, the talking points, I guess, or the things that matter, almost everything, every single point that happened in the movie. I've broken it down in 4 parts, and at the end of each part, we will stop and discuss.
Ever since I got bit by that spider, I've only had 1 week where my life has felt normal.
So, opening titles, Marvel in red. Okay, let's not go into that much details.
This was the reason why you brought Sarah along, wasn't it? Just to do the tunes and stuff. We haven't got the budget for the music, so bring Sarah along.
I've got my lawyers ready to.
He's out of tune, so it's fine. You can get away with it.
Actually, you're right. Yeah, different tones, different tune, different everything. So that's fine. You can go. Right. So the movie literally picks up. It starts where we stopped at the end of Far From Home, which is when the horrible man, JJ, or Jameson or whatever, reveals the true identity of Spider-Man. And obviously, guess who it is? It's Peter Parker. So the identity is revealed. Everybody freaks out. You've got this big thing going on where people are like, well, he's a hero. He's a horrible man. Cool. This gets, obviously, Peter Parker and all of his friends into trouble. And he gets obviously attacked from all angles, from every different angles. He even gets arrested by the FBI or CIA, I can't remember, one of the two, doesn't matter, some guys, and gets in trouble, which is where we get to see the introduction of Daredevil, which is Sarah's favorite. Was it Charlie Cox, right? That's his real name.
Yeah, well, but yeah, I think I love the way he was introduced. Like there was no big editing reveal, no big musical cue or build up of the legs and arms or whatever. It was just he sat down on the chair like he's always been there. Like, right, I'm here. Here we go, and it was great. I love how it was handled.
He had that one scene and it just worked. It was great.
Yeah.
So obviously, everyone who's in the vicinity of Peter Parker gets absolutely destroyed by this. There's nowhere to hide, and one of the consequences of this is as they're all students, they're meant to go into university. Or is it university in the US?
Yeah.
Yes, university.
MIT,
apply for all this stuff, college. And they're all trying to get into MIT, which doesn't work out because, hey, you're friends of Peter Parker, so get lost. That seems to be the breaking point, the turning point for Peter Parker. And he decides to go and pay a little visit to the other guy in there, Doctor Strange, and ask for his help. Funny scene all around there as well in the sanctum. It's a bunch of stuff when you realize Doctor Strange is no longer the big guy. He's now been demoted because on the technicality he wasn't there, so he's had to give up his seat of power. So guess Doctor Strange says, "Oh, I can get you to disappear. We can get everyone to forget about you." And Peter Parker's like, "That sounds sweet." So they start the spell, and then obviously here Peter Parker realizes that again, everyone is going to forget about me, and he starts adding more and more people to that list of they should remember, leading to Doctor Strange messing up the whole thing. But he manages to grab the spell, put it in a little box, he thinks it's safe now, but it isn't, because now the gates of the multiverse are wide open. End of part 1.
Wow.
Wow. It's like being there all over again, Tom. Thank you.
I was going to say, I feel like I was in the cinema.
You're welcome. So it's funny because all of that happened within the first 20 minutes of the film, half an hour maybe?
Yeah, I was quite surprised how much they crammed in at the beginning. It's like you see it all in the trailers, a lot of those clips. And obviously, like I say, the big reveal for Daredevil was it would have been a surprise for me if I hadn't been blooming spoiled everything. Little side note, if you try to hide away from news and stuff, keep away from like YouTube shorts and all that type of stuff, because there's no way of filtering that could just pop up and you get so much spoils. So watch out for that.
I had to literally on Twitter mute every version of Spider-Man. So Spider-Man, one word, Spider-Man, hashtag Spider-Man, hashtag Spider-Man. Just I did everything just in case.
That's a wise thing to do.
It's treacherous. I think YouTube thumbnails are the worst place as well.
Oh yeah, big time.
The thumbnails can get you without. I stayed away from any social media for about 2 or 3 days before we went to see it. So I think from the moment I booked, I was very careful with looking at anything that was Marvel related. Let's start with Sarah. What was your favorite bit? I think yours was Daredevil, right? Was that
I said, I did love how Daredevil was handled. I mean, part of me wished we saw more of him, but at the same time, he would have completely overshadowed everything else that goes on later in the movie. But I do think that just him plopping on the chair like he's always been there was brilliant. It was kind of how how Hawkeye and Black Widow, who just turn up in the other movies, was kind of handled like he's always been there, like part of the furniture, and I loved it. And I loved just a little bit where he caught the Rock, and then obviously says, "How do you do that?" And I'm a good lawyer, and that was all we needed, and that was brilliant. And obviously, no, I'm not gonna. We had a similar reveal in Hawkeye. I'll leave it at that in case people haven't seen Hawkeye. That kind of that was really nicely handled as well. And I also quite like, because I think parts of the story are based on the infamous comic book story One More Day from Spider-Man, where Peter loses Aunt May's hurt, and he goes to Doctor Strange trying to find a cure, and it ends up getting changed and whatnot. But I quite like how it's more of a mundane reason he went to Doctor Strange. Obviously he cares about his friends, and it makes sense. If you're a controversial figure, it would affect the people around you. I like how it was an emotional pull that got him to there, and more of a, like I said, intimate reason that he went to Doctor Strange for help rather than something really big, massive from the very start. I thought that was a really nice sort of turn. You really did feel for him and his friends, because obviously they did nothing wrong. It's Mysterio from the previous movie who screwed them all over, but I thought that was a really nice sort of hook into the first 20 minutes. And as the other guys said, it was paced quite well, and the trailer really only talks about the first third of the movie, and there's a lot that doesn't actually get revealed, which is really nice. I thought it was really well done.
Didn't you find it a bit strange that the Doctor Strange reaction when Peter Parker says, "Oh, can you erase me from everyone's memories?" And he was like, yeah, why not? Let's do it.
That's what I was going to say. Is something that stood out to me as maybe just I don't know. It's not really a dislike. It's more sort of far-fetched. Like he says it, and then Doctor Strange says no, and then what's his name, Juan. They talk about how they've used the spell before for less, right? Yeah. And then Wong just agrees. Yeah, and then Wong just agrees and jumps into his little portal and bounces. And I was just a bit like, that's too easy for what they're trying to achieve here. I get that it has to happen, but yeah, that discussion just it didn't go the way I think it would actually go.
What's interesting with it is it's different to the trailer, because in the trailer, Wong says, don't cast that spell. And like you said, he was actually like, well, yeah, why shouldn't we do it, kind of thing. I know from like, this has kind of gone through a lot of forums and stuff, but the whole thought process of why Doctor Strange went with it is because this is the most powerful Doctor Strange has ever been, because he's just defeated Thanos. There's no other sorcerer that we're aware of that is as strong as Doctor Strange. So it's like, well, why not? Why not throw around some spells and magic? Because I'm the Sorcerer Supreme, even though he isn't, because like previous mentioned, Wong technically is. I think that was a brilliant scene. I thought that was hilarious.
He's just great. I love Wong. I'm glad that he keeps popping up in all these films and scenes. He's awesome. But
like I say, that seems to be the thought process that as he's the big, most powerful being on Earth, technically, he feels like he can do the spell for him. And obviously he's probably digging into a bit of his own like childhood, because he was always known to be great and being this fantastic doctor before his hands got hurt and stuff. So he doesn't want to ruin that reputation for Peter, who's obviously been semi-close to as well.
But they did save the world together, right?
Yeah,
he says. So it's quite. No, I just thought the whole, like his body language and his demeanor was a bit different from how Doctor Strange would kind of interact with everyone else. Because that kind of the last big movie we've seen it, like, so Doctor Strange was
Endgame.
Actually, not even Endgame. It's not really all that much in there, right? It's just like a couple of scenes really in there. If you think about it, it's not all that present.
Because he was snapped, wasn't he?
Yeah. Infinity War is the one when he's in there and he's fairly cautious all the time and he's always looking stressed out or whatever. That one is like, gives a shit about anything. Like it's almost like a YOLO Doctor Strange. Like I just want to have fun and party and do magic tricks almost. Right. Anything else from there, from that little opening? Maybe something you dislike, something you want to.
I like that was my my dislike on the lesser side. I quite liked how they sort of created a human situation out of what was actually happening. So when Spider-Man jumps down and they're like to MJ, are you his girlfriend? They want to ask him all the questions. He scoops her up. They start flying. We know she doesn't like flying. It makes her feel sick. But when they're both standing on top of the bridge and he just starts talking to himself and he's like, oh, no, what am I going to do? And then she's just like, hello, like I'm on top of a bridge. I've never stood on a place like this. Like I get that you're Spider-Man and you know that if you fell, you could just do a couple flips and web yourself to safety. I don't feel secure up here. It's very windy. And that I kind of liked that touch.
I did also like the scene where they're back at the house and it's behind closed door. You hear them going like, no, don't take that off. And obviously the audio sounds like it's a sex scene. And then Aunt May and obviously Happy walk in and they think it's what's going to happen. And it's all one shot going from the bedroom all the way around the house, then trying to hold the window. I thought that one shot take was really good.
It made me laugh with that. Happy was crying because they broke up. All those things made me laugh. Oh no. Someone else's misery. And
then just last thing on this section, Ned just telling everything when he met the cop, the investigator. The way he was like, oh, I guess I'm not supposed to say anything. The cop's like, yeah, no, don't say anything. Let's get him some food, guys. Let's and he just
I'll tell you everything.
His ego,
I'm getting the chair. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Let's move on to part 2.
When you botched that spell where you wanted everyone to forget the Peter Parker Spider-Men.
So we pick up where everything's messed up, and so try and solve the issue of the MIT issue. Peter Parker's realizing that the guy from MIT is now going back to Boston. MIT's in Boston, right?
Boston, yeah.
So
Massachusetts.
She's on her way. Massachusetts, yeah. She's on her way back to the airport, so he's going to try to, go and talk to her, and gets to that lovely bridge where he, gets to talk to her, and suddenly, boom, stuff happened, and Dr. Otto Octavius, I can't say his name, pops out of nowhere and just starts fighting with Peter Parker, with Spider-Man, sorry, not Peter Parker anymore, with Spider-Man. There's an awesome fighting scene where, Octavius, who just realizes that he's not the Peter Parker he knows. And that also is quite cool, that little thing that he does where he manages to incorporate Spider-Man's costume into his own
the nanotech.
Tentacles, arms, nanotech thing going on. I thought that was pretty sweet to see him getting the red and blue colors, Spider-Man colors into his arms or whatever. So I thought that was quite cool. They managed to, get a good fight in there before Spider-Man takes the best of him, and then boom, Green Goblin comes out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, it just got real. Just as they're about to get it going as well, Doctor Strange goes magic circle and brings back Dr. Octavius and Peter Parker into the sanctum, and he goes, hey, look, special cages, let's get them all back in here. So already in there is Lizard. Who I think nobody really cares about, and that's it, right?
It's just those. Yeah, it's just Lizard and Doc Ock.
Yeah, not even Sandman is not in there yet, but it's coming up later. So at that stage, there's a bunch of argument and a bunch of talking, and Doctor Strange said, you've got, okay, you got your girlfriend, you got your best friend here, you guys need to go and find and capture the other guys that may have broken through the multiverse, namely Electro, who's Jamie Foxx, Sandman, who can't remember the actor's name, but hey, he's in there, and Green Goblin. So the last 3, get those 5 guys in there, and the plan is to send them back to their own timelines. We'll pause it here, end of part 2, which was fairly quick. Anything in there? I'm going to go with my favorite part, which is obviously the easiest one, the fight between Octopus and Spider-Man, which I thought was both really well done and funny. It's the usual thing of having a car falling off the bridge and Spider-Man getting that car back, saving the person in there, the usual. Yeah, I think that's about it for that part. I don't know. I've got this is where I was like, oh, there's a lot of people when I went to see it in the cinema that were literally losing their shit when they saw what's his name? Otto. Doc Ock.
Otto Octavius.
Otto Octavius, that kind of thing.
Or Doc Ock. Doc Ock.
Yeah, Doc Ock's the easiest.
So literally losing their shit when he came. When he got on the screen, I was like, wait, you didn't watch the trailer? That's the one we all knew he was in there. I mean, he did interviews literally. So I don't know if there's some of those guys that were with me in the audience literally stayed off social media for the last 6 months.
And didn't watch any trailers.
Are they watching trailers? In that case, respect, because I don't know how you do it. But yeah, that was a weird moment for me. I was like, huh? you guys didn't know? Okay, fine. Yeah, that was it for me. Who wants to go next? Who wants to say
Well, I got sad when you said that no one cares about Lizard. I mean, admittedly, he's not the best villain out of the lot, but I like the actor. Rhys Ifans is a good actor. Yes. It's a shame, though, he seemed like he'd be... I thought at one point, I didn't recognize his accent. I thought they got someone else to do it at one point because he didn't sound like him.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, when he changes back to human, they purposely cut the camera away. And I thought, what, did they actually get someone else? But they must have used old green screen footage for him. But it's a shame he was done off screen and he has obviously had the least amount of dialogue, which is a shame. but yeah, I like you. I really like the Doc Ock fight. It was great seeing him. I remember I actually saw an interview with Tom Holland on Hot Wings. I don't know if any of you seen Hot Wings. It's basically an interview show where they eat really spicy chicken wings. It's great. But Tom Holland said a little factoid where apparently when the actor for Doc Ock back then, he had like 4 puppeteers controlling his arms, but nowadays it's done in CGI. So he was the actor found it really weird that he had more physicality in this film. The fact that, you know, obviously had no people following him around. So that was kind of on my mind when I was watching the scene, how, because he kind of like, you know, destroys like this bridge and he has like, and I like that. And when Spider-Man has his arms and then Doc Ock goes, we got some competition. I just thought it was a nice little line. Yeah, and again, like the movement when he takes control of the arms, I thought that was really clever. And so I only saw Amazing Spider-Man like literally the few days before I saw the No Way Home, because I knew, but I heard rumors of it coming, so I saw both of them back to back. So Electro and Lizard were quite fresh in my head, but I did like Lizard, even though Electro, even though his characterization is completely different from American Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2. But I assume they did it on purpose to kind of like distance from that, because obviously that arc was handled very poorly. But also I heard another factoid that Jamie Foxx apparently agreed to come back if they redesigned the character and with the yellow, more comic accurate thing, which I thought was quite a nice detail. It did look a lot better in this film than the blue. I don't mean the blue was terrible, but it didn't look like finished. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say they've done that with a lot of these characters, like really try to bring them to the comic book style, which I know we'll talk a bit about with Green Goblin a bit later. But Jamie Foxx, like he helped with the design, from my knowledge, and he with the direction as well. And he was just like, please don't make me blue, whatever you do. Even though they did at the very start. which I liked the fact that they brought that in and they gave him a reason why he wasn't blue, which was it was a different power source in this universe, and he was really intrigued by it. Going back what you guys were saying, the Doc Ock fight was just brilliant. I thought that was just absolutely fantastic, and I love the fact that he still was in that moment from Spider-Man 2 of, well, where's my machine? What have you done to it? You know. He's lost, he's confused, and I know that's like the kind of the vibe for all the villains, that they're lost and confused in this world. And I was a little bit surprised about how he'd handled meeting this Peter Parker, of like he just stopped fighting. Like, I don't know if that would be Doc Ock's way. I would have thought he would have still continued fighting instead of just analyzing, because he's in that rage from the film. That seemed a little bit odd to me in a way. But I did like the fact that, you know, Peter Parker figures out a way to win the fight. And the big thing there was when he managed to save the woman from the college. I can't remember the name of it now, but she actually turns around and says, you are a hero. And that's like the big realization of like, well, yeah, he is a hero. He clearly is a hero. And just these acts of heroism shows that and everything. So it's a good like visualization that, you know, there's no doubt he is a hero. And also just like kind of going off what you were saying, Sarah, about like for Reese, I have a theory that both Reese and the other guys, Thomas Hayden Church, who plays Sandman, I think they were off doing other films, so they could only send their voices over. So hence why Thomas, being Sandman, was just pretty much Sandman all the time. It wasn't really showing his face until the end. Same with Reese. That's my theory on that side of things. But I think all around that was such a cool fight, and you know, disappointing couldn't see a bit more of Green Goblin at that point. But obviously, he did stuff later, which we'll go in a bit later.
Yeah, it's because it's a weird cut. Like when Dr. Strange comes in, it's like, wait, hang on, you know.
I just sorry for the Green Goblin bit. When he comes to Aunt May, it's doing this part, isn't it? Was the next part?
Next part.
Sorry.
Next part. Don't jump.
I'll say sorry. I'll say that.
I knew. I mean, something that I thought was good from that section was I knew that Green Goblin was going to be in it. I knew that Dr. Ock was going to be in it. I knew that Electro was going to be in it. I didn't know that Sandman was going to be in it. So when he pops up next to Spider-Man. I was just like, oh, like I knew, obviously you can see Electro there. You're just like, oh yeah, he's going to have to fight him and tackle him like he did before in the past and whatever. But having Sandman there and then having them actually fight together, I thought was a really cool moment as well. Because I just was not expecting it. I didn't expect to see him, and I didn't expect that to happen.
That fight was pretty cool as well. The visual effects, I think, more than the fight. That's what with Electro.
It'd have to be, yeah.
You know, that was pretty special when you see him floating over that electrical lines there. And it's just.
And he shoots the thing at him anyway, and just ends up teleporting a tree.
That was funny.
Yeah.
And then when Ned goes, "Is that a magic tree? Is he going to turn into a person?"
Yeah,
which is funny if he ever meets Groot, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll harken back to that moment.
You know they will.
They have to use that reference, don't they?
Yeah.
I have to say though, you actually brought up a good point there, David, about the whole Sandman situation helping Spider-Man, because I did wonder how they're going to place Sandman as a villain, because he was like a goodie at the end of Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, he helped.
So I liked how they started off as a goodie, and then he was like, you know, who are you? You're not my Spider-Man. And then he's really confused, and he kind of has his own arc of, well, I'm just going to care about myself. I don't really care about anyone else in this scenario. So I thought that was a good twist and how to make him more of a villain, though not a villain.
Yeah, it was nice that all the different villains had different motivations. Like some wanted to stay and some wanted to get back. It kind of, and it created tension within that group. So, you know, as well as Spider-Man with the villains themselves. It was nice.
Well, you know what? It's a great segue into part 3.
Hello, Peter. You're not Peter Parker.
What happened to those guys? You know, basically where after talking with every single one of them as they're going back or as they're brought into the sanctum, they all realized that, well, they went through the multiverse. They landed there just as they were about to die in their own universe, which is why all of them have a different reaction. Or, you know, Darkhawk saying, "Oh, where's my machine?" Well, because just before he died, that's what took him down into the river. I think that's how he dies. He drowns, right?
Yeah, because he was he gets his mind back and he's trying to save everyone. So he's the one that actually pulls it down into the water.
That's it. You've got Electro, who's obviously it had this weird this moment where he's coming back to life, basically, when he's jumping into the other universe, and he's like, well, he's under an electrical form, and it's him. That's how I understood it. It was always him rebuilding himself from electricity, from energy, kind of thing, because he was dying. That's how he dies, I think, if I remember well.
He gets over
Spider-Man. He gets
exposed to overlocked.
Yeah.
Quite a little thing they've added into it is that whenever Electro appears and he is Electro, they add in the dubstep music that they had in Amazing Spider-Man 2, like his theme. They included it ever so slightly in the background, which I thought was really cool.
They've done that multiple times, I think, throughout the film, where there's one character and there's a little bit of a theme in the background. You have to pay attention to it.
I think that if you look at the credits, it had multiple different composers referring to the other movies. But go back to what you're saying, Tom, because the only one who didn't die was Lizard. Lizard gets thrown in prison. I don't know whether that was just a poorly.
Lizard dies.
No, he's in prison.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, sorry. He gets turned back into a human, and also Sandman doesn't die.
Yeah, so I don't know whether that was just a poorly written line or whether it was just kind of fumbled or it hinted that they die eventually. But yeah, Lizard didn't die. He's thrown in prison, but he's never mentioned in the second movie. But in the first movie, he is in prison.
Or maybe it's just for the main characters, the main villains. Because I think, again, like Lizard and Sandman compared to Green Goblin and Electro, they may be less important in the entire storyline. You know, like if you ask people who Spider-Man be fighting for the last 6, 7, 8 movies, you'll get the Electro, you'll get Green Goblin, but chances are nobody's going to say, well, Sandman was cool. No, you know, he was there in the film, but so it's almost like, you got fixed already.
Sad villain.
Sad villains, yeah, exactly. Sad villains. Let me resume where we were. So cool, they had a discussion. They realized they were, for the important ones, about to die or just dead, and then got moved, transferred to the other universe.
You're going to get so much hate comments. I love Sandman. What are you on about?
Bring them. On social media, catching up with the nerds. Because so to the point where Doctor Strange rather coldly says, cool story. Let's send them back. They've got nothing to do here. Don't care if they die. Off you fuck. So they get into the argument, and Peter Parker is obviously being the nice one in there and says, look, why don't we try and fix them, cure them from their horrible villain powers, evilness, and then send them back. Maybe they'll send them back and they won't die because they're cool and nice. Okay. And then Doctor Strange is like, nah, that's just not going to work. So as they're about to, again, send those guys back, Peter Parker goes, well, I'm going to steal that cube, the magical cube with a spell in it. Follows a nice little fight scene between Doctor Strange and Spider-Man, I think, with a lot of special effects and a lot of spinning holes and shit, which was cool. Doctor Strange gets trapped into the mirror dimension, which is also fun. And I think it's Aunt May that takes all of the villains back to her flat, to her apartment, just to
Happy's apartment.
Happy's apartment.
Happy and May to just go and hey, there you go, secret flat, let's go. So I think Peter Parker at that point just works on a bunch of fixes for the villains, and gets Doc Ock all better with a new microchip, which is, funny enough, he must have got from the COVID vaccine, out of there, boom, straight into the brain, changed that DNA, changed everything, and now he's a good guy.
And got 5G.
Yeah, he's got 5G, everything's connected, he's cool. Get in there. Now they're working on the Goblin.
I'm live streaming into my mad.
They can stream. Oh my god, I've got Netflix. And then I think they fix Lizard and Sandman?
No, Lizard stays in the car.
Lizard is in the car.
Yeah,
yes.
Stays in the truck. He's in the back of the truck.
Sandman's, I can't remember if he's there.
That Sandman, he kind of just says, "Oh, I want to see my daughter. I just want to get back." He gives Electro a thing on his chest to try and absorb the electricity, and he didn't like that.
Countdown.
And then he
starts.
There's a countdown
on Electro's chest, like Iron Man.
Yeah. And then he starts doing a serum for the Goblin. And that's when he gets the Spidey sense.
Exactly, which is that awesome scene also, with the Spidey sense, which I believe is the first time we actually see it on screen. The Spidey sense.
Yeah.
Going
they kept calling it the Peter Tingle or something like that beforehand.
But there was the hair raising. That's the only thing you could see. And that's the first time that you actually see the blurred vision thing.
Yeah, that's not the first time we see it though. We see it when on the bridge. I think we see it with both villains.
I didn't pay attention to that. I thought he was just him
pops
going
up, and then when,
I thought the first time we see it is Far From Home, when he's on London Bridge, because that's how he wins.
Maybe.
Because he taps into it, knowing where the drones are. So I think
maybe. I think the way it's represented though, it's more like him looking away in middle of mid conversation, or his hair,
zoning out,
like all the hair going up and stuff. Like I don't know if that's the first time you see the blurred thing, like which is a bit you see in Spider-Verse, the animated one, like you see it kind of represented with stuff coming out. Anyway, just a little point. Going back to the plot, yes, he's about to cure Green Goblin, and Green Goblin just goes, psych, I wasn't in it all along, I want to be out of here, you're all weak. And then fight. Electro, Sandman, and Lizard run away, and like you said, Sandman's already gone. Doc Ock goes away, and then there's another fight where at the end of it, Green Goblin just injures Aunt May, and she, spoilers, dies. And then there's that little bit of a scene when she goes, with great power or whatever, and then she dies. So this is where we end part 3. Obviously, my daughter Emily cried when Aunt May died there, which was actually a lot sadder than I expected. I didn't see it coming, to be honest. Like I thought it would keep her going for that film. But then again, if it's the end of the Tom Holland trilogy, get rid of Aunt May as well, which is a bit cold. But I was like, oh my God, no, not her. I actually like her as a Aunt May. She's really cool. And they had the whole thing going on with Happy, and that was I thought that was always a funny little backstory there. But then when she dies, I was like, no, I don't want to cry in front of other people. So I just emotionally detached myself from the movie, and I went, I'm a cold-blooded bastard. And I did not cry. True story. So that's kind of my favorite bit from there. James, what was yours? Anything
Green
that
Goblin.
stood out?
Green Goblin all the way. I think you may have missed out a bit about Green Goblin actually beforehand. So he has the whole so he's in the alleyway having that dilemma with the mask.
Sure, go for it.
Yeah, dilemma with the mask, smashes it, runs off, thinks he's with Osborn, back being Osborn, and then meets up with Aunt May.
Yeah.
Then goes and meets all the other villains, and he's just so desperate to, like, you know, help me, I'm a lost soul, save me, kind of thing. And obviously Green Goblin's somewhere behind, tampering with everything. But yeah, it's just Green Goblin as a whole. That was my Green Goblin. Like, as a kid, I watched the first Spider-Man like hundreds and hundreds of times. I thought it was a very cool Green Goblin, but that is a redemption for Green Goblin. Just the madness, the strength, and the the just backstabbing and everything he's there for, and the laugh was fantastic. You know, because he's kind of like the Joker for the MCU in a way.
He is.
So bringing him like that just was fantastic. Though the only thing I was a little bit confused about was he's obviously making some kind of serum that doesn't do anything to him. But was it that it does nothing to him completely and it's just like green smoke, or did it enhance his abilities? Because he seemed a lot stronger than he was in the first film.
Yeah,
I was thinking that as well. Like, when did he become so powerful? Like, we often forget that Spider-Man's as strong as, is it 8 or 10 people that a spider-sized human would be? So for Goblin to all of a sudden be stronger than Spider-Man, I was just like, he's throwing him around like he's Rhino or something.
Yeah.
It was weird to me.
But what I got from it is that Spider-Man doesn't want to kill him. He's just trying to subdue him and obviously holding back his punches. Whereas obviously Green Goblin is like, no, I want to kill you. I want to make you suffer. I mean, maybe I'm misreading it, but I thought the serum was like, you know, because he does do the second serum in there before. Maybe he needed both doses to be cured. But what I liked about that was, I don't know if you agree, Tom, but the canteen at when Aunt May and Green Goblin are in, it very much reminded me of the canteen as in the video game. They look very much like the same homeless buildings. I don't know if that was proper, like, you know, properties. And I like the throwaway line where Green Goblin is saying, there's no obstacle in this universe. And I thought that was a really nice way of just saying, like, we're not going to shoehorn it in later. It doesn't exist in this world. And I thought it was very simple. And obviously, if you're the head of his massive company and suddenly you go to another universe and it doesn't exist, that would kind of shake you up a little bit, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely, because there's no Harry, so he's lost his son all over again in a way. Yeah, no, definitely, I thought that was good because it was like a real truly broken man, which again adds the Green Goblin of like, well, we've got nothing to lose now, have we? Kind of motivation.
Like you said, the redemption part of the character was very interesting to me, because I've rewatched the old Spider-Mans also before going in, and I was like, yeah, like, as the acting part of it, obviously it's very well done, but like as a villain himself, like Green Goblin, I was like, yeah, the movie version of him is like, but now in that version, like the even crazier version of Green Goblin, the one that has nothing to lose, the one that wants to fully take over, he actually scared me a little bit more. And I was like, okay, that's a legit villain right there. Like he could literally destroy all of the other guys, the other villains, easily dispatch them, and then be the only one on the block, but he's actually up there. Like you say, he's also the Joker of the MCU. Even more so in this one, I felt.
Yeah, which is the interesting thing. Like, if you scaled all the villains up against each other, technically Green Goblin's actually the weakest out of them all. But because he's got that insanity, like the Joker, because again, Joker's really weak. He's just a regular human being. But that insanity, the way he thinks and acts, that's what, you know, gives him the extra boost. But yeah, and I did like the whole what happened with Doc Ock, like kind of bring him back to, well, actually at the end of Spider-Man 2, you know, he's back to being normal. He's happy, you know, he's pleased, he's happy, he wants to help, and then he gets zapped.
He sacrificed him. Oh yeah, in the movie. So I was thinking in Spider-Man 2, he sacrifices himself, doesn't he, to bury the son. So he stays true to the character. But yeah, it just seemed a bit weird to me that he just suddenly decided to leave the scene, but he comes back later, so it makes sense.
yeah. From memory, he gets like straight up attacked by Electro, because Electro is always like, I don't know if I want to lose my powers and stuff. And then I think Sam was very much like, well, fuck this shit, I'm out of here, kind of thing. And then I have a theory that Lizardman was in cahoots with Green Goblin, that they had some kind of.
That's how I understood it watching it.
Some kind of psyche, because I think because I think lizards do have like an extra sense, and he knew something was going to happen. So I think he even has a line of like, now it's my turn, kind of thing. And that's when he rips out, runs up, and then beats up Spider-Man as well.
I agree with you. That's how I saw it. That's how I understood it as I was watching it. Like, I was like, these two are working together, or maybe not explicitly, but at least there's that thing in the background that is going on where they, like you said, maybe lizards have that sense where they can go up and read the situation differently and see what benefits them. But yeah.
Well, they are both scientists themselves.
Well, yes, maybe that's what.
I like how you have to go closer into the camera to put that.
Yeah, see, it's a meme. Get it?
I know. Dave, sorry, yeah.
So just one last thing about Green Goblin, that they actually brought his comic book character outfit in with the hood, and he actually had a strap with the bombs in and everything. So yeah. Sorry.
So
no, it's, I think this is the moment where two of the main threads that continue through the rest of the film appear. One of them you already mentioned, which is Aunt May telling him, with great power comes great responsibility, the Spider-Man motto that we all know and love. But there's also, this is where they introduce that whole dynamic of whether powers are a blessing or a curse.
Yeah.
And there's that, is it Goblin that makes that speech that says,
yeah, I think he does. Yeah.
That, when he comes out from Osborn and basically says, why would I want to get rid of these abilities? Like, they make me better, not they make me stronger, not weaker, type of thing. And then that obviously triggers something in Electro's head, like, why would I want to get rid of these powers when I'm in this new place where I can get this new energy, which fixed his hair and his teeth and everything. And then the conversation that Aunt May has with him, which ends with her saying, with great power comes great responsibility, that almost like he had questioned his own abilities and whether they were a good thing or not. And he's seeing what happens when you have abilities, what happens to the people around you when you have abilities. And she reassures him that no, it's not like having abilities, having powers does enhance you. It does make you better. It's just that you have to know what you're doing with it. You have to know what you're doing with it. And that's what carries him on and the rest of them on through the rest of the film.
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting because like that moment is like the first time Peter loses someone due to his powers or from a villain. Like that's his first major loss, because we know Uncle Ben has died at some point. Oh yeah. Sorry, fair point. Iron Man. Yeah, I was meaning like a kind of like direct family kind of like friends kind of thing. But no, you've got a good point actually about the Iron Man side of things as well. But it's I wish I didn't know that happened. Little Aunt May thing, because I went with my dad, and he was next to me, and I could tell he was like, "What?" kind of face. And I was like, oh, I know this is going to happen. Why?
Yeah. I lost my dad on New Year's Eve, and I watched this on New Year's Eve. It was like the 5-year anniversary, and yeah, it made me think a lot. It made me think a lot about what she said at Feast and what she said to Spider-Man before he decides that he wants to help them. Like she says something along the lines of what do you stand for, or something like that. And it made me think on a personal level about my own loss in that moment.
It was that's what I like about Aunt May, like the way she's portrayed. Like there's always something. Every time she's in the scene, it's not for nothing, if you know what I mean. Like she always brings something as a character. Like she always brings Spider-Man or Peter Parker something. I thought that's why I was very surprised that, and again, not so surprised because again, the end of Tom Holland's trilogy, but like surprised but not so surprised that they would let her go like that. It's quite surprising. But again, over those 3 movies is the evolution of Peter Parker as human. Like the first one is him as a kid, a child, very much self-centered. The second one is like, we are away on holiday, but like a young adult. And then the third one, this one is like him assuming his responsibilities and who he is and growing up from that. So I thought that was quite interesting that they went.
And it is interesting that this is, like you said, James, his first personal loss, because we're used to that happening in the first film. Whatever the first film of the trilogy, whatever sequel, whatever they had with Amazing Spider-Man, normally that happens at the beginning, and then Aunt May might die somewhere later on. But having her be the first loss is that we see, at least, is an interesting dynamic.
Does she die in either the comics or the movies? So usually it's only Uncle Ben that we see.
No, she's died plenty of times, like most characters, and then brought back somehow, and all that type of thing. The
game she dies in quite a sad way.
Oh yeah, spoilers. Spoilers. If you haven't played. If you own a PS4 or PS5, go get the game. Yeah, yes, true. She does. Yeah.
Here's a random one, right? One of the first introductions of Dr. Octopus. So this is really called back to Spider-Man 2. Dr. Octopus has actually got a crush for Aunt May.
Yes.
Which I was interested to see if they would do something with that in this, but they didn't seem to.
No, not with this new fun young Aunt May that we have this in this trilogy.
She's too fire for him.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on because in the interest of time, let's go to part 4, which again, there's a lot happening there in the final act.
This is all my fault. I can't save everyone.
Again, the whole movie is a roller coaster, but this is where I fangirl a lot in the last moment. So, what did we go? Oh yes, so Aunt May sadly dies, and we move on then to the final act, which is when we discover that Ned can open portals, because why not? Other wizards can have to practice for 25 years, but I think they're trying to get Ned in there to be the next to be with Juan, like to be his apprentice or something.
Well, he has
the pinky ring thing.
The knuckle duster thingy.
So, but then again, he said, "Oh, my grandma says like I've got magic in me or whatever." It's true. So I was like, "Oh, you guys are trying to, you're pushing it." So he realizes that he can open portals, which is fun. And along with MJ, they decide to try to locate Spider-Man, Peter Parker, because obviously he goes missing, being destroyed by the death of Aunt May. And they go, all right, they help him find Peter Parker. And then bang, open this portal when it's this, we're at the end of this alleyway. And then you see a Spider-Man figure at the back of it. And you go, oh, all right, they found him, cool. And then turns around, runs towards the portal and then jumps through, and then bang. This is when I legit didn't cry again. Where it's, what's his name?
Andrew Garfield.
Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. And this funny scene where he has to prove to MJ that he's actually an actual Spider-Man, and then Ned's grandma comes in and starts speaking. Is it Thai? No. What's language?
No, she was like, "Can you get that cobweb for the?"
She says stuff for like 10 minutes, and then he's like, "Can you get that?" It's like, that's not all she said, is it? So yeah, he ends up, running on the ceiling and like doing a bunch of stuff, which is it's a great moment with Andrew Garfield. They go, okay, so you got the one we know. Let's go again, and then bang, open another portal, and walks in Tobey Maguire. At that point, I didn't scream at all in the cinema, and I was like, because I totally knew they would be here. And so you get now that scene where the famous meme was like Spider-Man looking at the other Spider-Man. And again, funny. We'll get back to that, but it's funny discussion between all of them, and they're trying to find out where Peter Parker is. He's on the roof. Let's go and meet him. And then you see Tom Holland crying and obviously trying to understand what's happening to him, and almost going to the dark side where it's like, I'm going to murder everything and everyone. And where you have, again, that very, great discussion between the three Spider-Mans. There's a back and forth, and then the other two are like, look, don't do what we did, which is go absolutely crazy and go dark, basically. You don't want to go down that route. And they managed to pull him out of that vibe and come up with a plan and say, look, let's go and cure those guys. We'll get them all together in one spot, and we'll fight them / cure them and send them back. So that's the plan. Then there's that funny scene where they all get into the lab, and there's a bunch of discussions again. We'll get back to that. And they come up with cures for all of them within 5 minutes, which is like, Easy. Again, 3 brilliant minds, 3 Peter Parker, so that's sure split things up. But they all go, here's one for that guy, here's another one for this guy. Green Goblin, done. So, they go social media and they go, hey, if you're a villain, beat us on the Statue of Liberty, and we'll fight you.
Caption of Liberty.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Had the shield on it.
She got the shield, which is freaking awesome. Is it made out of? No, it's not made out of.
No, it's copper. Definitely copper.
I think it's copper. Could have been. Imagine a massive vibranium shield just cover the whole town.
Typical American stealing from Africa.
And wasting it as well.
Let me sidestep and go. Oh yes. Anyway, so the baddies are there, and they all start fighting the 3 Spider-Mans, which is again another awesome scene. You see them webbing around, swinging and stuff together. A bunch of funny conversations happen. What happened next? Yes. Fight. Yeah.
They tell Andrew Garfield that he's amazing.
He's amazing.
Really they had to throw that in, didn't they?
So Ned gets there and he opens up the portal for Doctor Strange. I'm just literally, I'm going, again, we'll go back into more details. But Doctor Strange is back and he's like, yo, do you like my impression of Doctor Strange? Because I have literally hard scene in my head. You guys are mad. What's happening here? Let's clean up. So they get curing, they get stabbing with the little needles and stuff. They're all turning back into human forms for Sandman and Lizard. Doc Ock is back to normal also, because it's in that great scene with his Peter Parker. The only one that doesn't get fixed in any way, shape, or form is Green Goblin. Sorry, jumping, that's the final fight. But there's that great scene also with MJ slipping and falling from the Statue of Liberty, and she's caught by Andrew Garfield, to the point where I did not cry again when he was like, no.
And every time you say it, Tom, we believe you even more.
I so didn't cry.
Yeah.
So there's a fight, Green Goblin with Tom Holland, Peter Parker / Spider-Man, and as our Spider-Man, as we know him for now, is about to kill Green Goblin. Spider-Man 1 or Spider-Man 2, is it? Spider-Man 1 is Tom Holland.
It's
Spider-Man
Tom Holland.
2 is,
Yeah.
is Maguire.
Tobey Maguire.
Yes, so Spider-Man 2, Maguire intervenes and like, no, you can't kill him.
He doesn't say anything, he
which is
just gives
fine.
him a look, which I thought was
Just
great.
give him a look, which they don't need to talk actually. And what else happens? Yeah, the end basically. They go, hey, no,
I mean,
Doctor Strange is on top of the.
Tobey
of the
Maguire
Eiffel-
gets
I was gonna
stabbed.
say, he gets stabbed, but it doesn't matter because he's got the powers to regenerate.
Or does he?
He might bleed out, but okay.
Might be. Just go back into his universe and die there. Nobody knows. So
Sorry, MJ.
so yeah. Yeah, they inject Green Goblin with the cure. He becomes Osborn again, back to normal. To the point where Doctor Strange is now back on top of the I was gonna say the Eiffel Tower, the Statue of Liberty. I was like, look, shit's getting crazy. We need to do something because I can't hold them off now. And you can see a bunch of shadows and a bunch of evil guys. And I was like, I need to go back at some point and look who those guys are because like there's a bunch
I
of
think
figures
one
that you
was
see.
Rhino.
Yeah, that's the
Yes,
only one I
one was
recognised was Rhino.
Yeah.
I didn't
The
recognise the
same.
others.
I was like, I need to go and check it out, but we'll get back to that.
One of them's Craven.
Oh, cool.
I was thinking they might show Craven because he
'Cause there's a
definitely
guy
knew
with
who
a s-
Peter Parker was.
Yeah, there's a
Is the
guy
guy-
with a spear,
Yeah,
and he's the only one I could think of that would have a spear.
Yeah,
Aquaman.
that's true. Him too.
Well, funny enough, the actor of Aquaman's meant to be.
I know, right?
Craven.
They're all crossing over. They don't care. So yeah, Doctor Strange wants to shut everything down. He's like, oh my god, we can't do it. I can't hold them off. We're all about to die. Cool. I was like, yes, that's awesome. This is where they should cut to black and then bang. But no, they don't. And they go, Peter Parker has got a moment of genius and he goes, well, let's do the spell. Do it proper. Everybody will forget about me, including my girlfriend, including my best friend. And there's that bittersweet moment where they have to say goodbye to each other. Again, didn't cry at all. And
Not even a little bit.
yeah, Peter Parker's like, I will come back and I will find you and I will do my best to make sure you remember me. Boom, cast his spell. Spell is cast. Tired. And everybody goes back from where they came from, which is a great thing. Hey, Brexit. The end was sponsored by Britain First or whatever.
Getting very political.
Yeah, I know, right? Don't tell me you didn't see that coming, right? Send them back. Send them back. So yeah,
Sponsored by Priti Patel.
Priti Patel. Can you imagine? Sponsored by the Home Office. Yeah, so they all sent back to where they came from, to their own universes, and Spider-Man just, is now no longer recognized by anyone. There's a scene a year later, 6 months later, anyway, a while later, where Peter Parker walks in a cafe where MJ and Ned are, having a good time there, non-sexually, obviously, and they're just talking to each other. And then he comes in and is like, hi, I'm here for a coffee. So, boom, he decides that, I don't know if he's going to try and reconnect, trying to work that friendship out with them. I don't know if there's going to be something there. It looks like he's giving up, so I'm just gonna grab my coffee and go, because coffee is life. And I think that's about it, right? There's nothing much else that happened after that.
So he gets
think
the
that's
apartment, which
that's
looks very much like Peter,
Yes.
Tobey Maguire's apartment, and then he obviously makes his own suit and swings out.
Yes,
Yeah.
There's one more scene where he goes to Aunt May's grave and Happy is there.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
And then they're like, oh, what we're gonna happen? They say, well, we'll carry on her legacy. She might not be there anymore, but she'll have inspired others to do good. And yes, he goes back to his apartment and he's building, he's got himself a new kind of a flashy Spider-Man outfit. And he goes back out there and carries on with his Spider-Man duties. Do we want to go with there's one post end credit thing with Venom.
Yep.
Eddie Brock, who is in a bar somewhere in Mexico, and as he was about to pay his bills, he's obviously completely drunk, and the guy at the bar is like, "Hey, can you pay your bill?" And he goes, "Gone."
Spoilers for Venom 2, by the way.
Yeah,
but he leaves a little bit behind.
He leaves a little bit of mess behind there. So introducing Venom into
That just sounds so wrong how you described it.
I know.
You should have seen those toilets. They were disgraceful the way you left them.
That didn't go back into his universe. It stayed right there. Okay. So that's what we see, and then the second post-end credit being the trailer for Doctor Strange 2, which I thought was amazing.
I thought it was weird that it was an actual trailer.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
It was a trailer. I was like, wait, hold on, is this a scene or a? Oh no, trailer. Okay.
Didn't they do that with an Avengers movie? I think like early first phase 1 of the MCU. I think there was the one post-end credit was like a trailer for another film.
Apparently, the second Amazing Spider-Man had a trailer for an X-Men movie, but they only show that in cinemas for DVDs and streaming. They take it out, but I don't think the Marvel has ever done a proper trailer before.
I think there might have been one, but I can't remember.
But the Hawkeye post-credit one was all just a musical number, like didn't really point to anything. So I think they're trying to experiment with it a bit more. It seems this year.
We also have to remember it's a Sony film. Technically, the Spider-Man, so maybe they can't show too much.
Or they just don't know what they're doing.
I have no idea.
From experience. Yeah, all right. What do we like? I mean, the part 4 is like, whew, there's so much going on. I mean, I'm just gonna go with obviously the two, Spider 2, Spider 3 showing up. And actually, that was quite nice that I experienced that with my daughter in the cinema, because I kept going on about going to see Endgame and the audience reaction, which was absolutely like we went to see it on the day it got released. So hardcore fans were there. And when I went to see Endgame again with my family, it was like 3-4 months later, like after it was out, and obviously it was dead in the cinema. Like it was just people that I don't even know why they were there for. So they didn't get to experience the same level of madness I had. And going through that one where people were actually absolutely 100% hyped and screaming and laughing and, cheering every time something was happening, and knowing what that Easter egg refers to, that was really nice for my daughter. She was like, not jealous that she didn't experience it with Endgame, but like she was always just like she was, oh, it sounds awesome. Like, usually you go to cinema, people are reserved and stuff, but not in that case. So that was a good moment where, the two Spider-Mans rock up and he's like, oh my God, people going absolutely apeshit. I think the other one, what was the other one? Yes, it's that. Yeah, like I said, Andrew Garfield catching MJ and. I don't want to cry again. No, I didn't cry. Nothing happened. Let's go with Dave. What was yours? Like,
I during that fight at a certain point, I was just kind of like, wow, like they pulled it off. Like they really pulled it off. Like when you're a fan of this kind of thing, you might watch the cartoons, you might read the comics, like they continue to pull off things that you only thought you could think of, right? You never actually thought you would see some of this stuff happen. But to see Spider-Man from 3 different generations fighting against 3 different villains.
It was almost Sinister Six, just missing one member.
Right. Yeah. It was just incredible that it exists. Like it's just cool that they're doing this kind of stuff. And something that I always say about any Marvel property, whether it's a game or whatever, I like when Marvel gets weird. And in this phase, in phase 4, we're getting the weird parts of Marvel. And I mean, it was super weird in this film, having people from different universes just all together. And that was just super awesome to me.
I think I went back to my childhood when the 3 Spider-Mans are swinging, from the top. And I went literally for about 10 seconds, I went, I'm 5 again. But again, like you said, that's when they've pulled it off. It's like literally, I forgot everything else that was wrong in the world. And that moment, I went, "Oh my god, this is the shit. This is great." Like you wait all these years to see it on screen, and then bang, there it is, and it works.
Yeah.
Sarah?
I think that it's a testament to, like, when you've been, I'm glad I didn't watch, like I said earlier on, I didn't watch Amazing Spider-Man when it first came out. I only saw it like literally a week ago, and I think I'm really glad I did, because when he caught MJ, it kind of made that and there was a lot of things that went wrong with the Amazing Spider-Man duology, but I think it's a testament to not just Andrew Garfield's acting, but also what did work, like the Gwen Stacy death, the fact that scene when he caught MJ worked so well, and also the fact that the actor was really, the character was very emotional that he did it. And I loved how it was just a really quick throwaway line, but again, it was hinted that their lives continued after we stopped watching them. Like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man was saying that he went to a dark place when he lost Gwen Stacy, and Tobey Maguire's Peter did eventually make it work with MJ, and they didn't, and she ended up having a family. And it was just a few quick lines, but it was enough to kind of feel like they're real people, that they kept going after we left them. And it makes sense, you don't just stop what you're doing, you just keep going. And when you look at all the interviews where they try obviously pretend that they didn't work together, I think it's great that they did, and they obviously had such great chemistry together, and they enjoyed working. And just like the line of when obviously they didn't work at first in the battle, they had to stop, didn't they? Because obviously the other two Spider-Mans are used to only working by themselves, and then obviously Tom Holland was like, "Oh, well, I was in the Avengers," and Tobey Maguire's like, "That's great. What's the Avengers?"
Is that a band?
Again, it's like all these things you don't think about it. And then again, it made sense that Tom Holland was the leader, because he's obviously got team experience, and he was telling them what to do, even though he was the youngest. And again, just like all of them were just so worked so well together. And I know there's a lot of like Twitter thing about wanting Andrew Garfield back for a third American Spider-Man. God's sake, Amazing Spider-Man. I wouldn't go that far, but I think I would love to see him in like the next Spider-Verse movie. Like just seeing his version turn up there and more organically. And I think that would be great, especially since clearly Andrew Garfield loves Spider-Man, and you can clear that he really wanted this to work, and it didn't. And for one reason or another, he got screwed over.
If anything, there was a redemption movie for Andrew Garfield, right? Because I came out of it, I was like, wow, actually, to me, out of the three, that was my favorite. Not the movies that he's in, but like part of that specific movie that we just seen, that I was like, wow, he stole the show for me. Literally the one that made me laugh the most. And like Tobey Maguire, though, he looks beat up. Like he looks like he's life hasn't been kind. Like he's the oldest.
He's
one
experienced.
Anyway, he's experienced. But like I was like, whoa, dude. Even the way he comes in in the movie, like he comes into the movie, like
he's just wearing a t-shirt.
He's wearing a t-shirt. It's like there's a portal behind me. He's like, yeah, cool. Can you be more normal almost? It's I don't know if it was on purpose that they kept him looking that old and not disheveled, but I mean, like.
Yeah, I think because there's a lot of fans said that Peter Maguire's the best Peter Parker, but Andrew Garfield was the best Spider-Man. So I think that's why they kind of introduced Andrew Garfield with the websuit, and Peter and then Tobey Maguire in the Peter Parker outfit, and then obviously he just showed his outfit afterwards, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think that was that's what I've read online. Maybe whether that's true or not, I don't know. But it's nice how they did it completely different. And then showed the 3 different suits later when they're actually in combat.
Yeah. Andrew Garfield is the one that had the physicality for it, and I don't know. I'm always staying away from who's the best Spider-Man. I don't know. It's all depends what you're looking for in your Spider-Man. Who is your, one is the I don't know, the very nerdy one is Tobey Maguire for me, and like the physical one, it's a debate between Garfield and Holland, because Holland is a physical beast also, so it's more like the kiddie version of Spider-Man. So I don't know, it's like the nicest out of the 3. I don't know, it's weird. It depends what you're looking for.
Well, Tom Holland had great range, and there's like the death scene of Aunt May, you really felt his pain, and him wanting to kill the Green Goblin, you could see it in his eyes. And then when he decided to give up on MJ, you saw there was a couple of scenes earlier on when MJ just talking, and Tom Holland just looks at him like he's completely in love. I mean, you know, the actors are actually dating, but still the fact he's so, I mean, you have actors who are dating in real life and have no chemistry on screen, but these two just radiate off it. The fact he just looks at her like she just means everything to him. You just really believe he's in love with her. And the fact that he had to let her go is heartbreaking. The fact that these movies made this teen romance work so well, I think it's a testament to their acting and the writing.
True. James, we turn to you. What do you have?
So there's only ever been, so this and only other one moment I've always had the impression of like, holy shit, anything can happen now. So this film and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, because it was that moment of, well, yes, anything can happen now.
Yeah.
You know, and everyone is here practically, you know. So I thought, yeah, the floodgates are open to what they can do. You know, with the Scarlet Witch series, obviously they had a version of Quicksilver from the Fox X-Men. Yeah. So now again, anything could happen. You know, we've got the new Spider-Man Into the Multiverse Part 1 coming out, which again could include all three of these Spider-Men, or anything could happen.
Anyone.
Anything could happen. But yeah, just the chemistry of the three of them was just amazing. You know, and so many references for so many different things, like the joke about Toby and his natural web fluid.
Oh, yeah.
Does it only come out of his wrists? All these things, and like it was just brilliant. Like the chemistry and how logical it all was as well. Because like you guys were saying about the whole, they couldn't work as a team, and then they had to kind of group huddle, and Tom Holland is the leader in it, which again makes sense for the film. But yeah, it's just fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I think that's all I can really say about it, other than what you guys have already mentioned. And again, Green Goblin, just the best villain. Outstanding. Yeah.
So to wrap this up, not entirely, but just as a view of the movie, because I've read a bunch of stuff online. People are like, well, the movie is a bit weird because it's fan servicing the entire way through, which is fine, which is what these movies are. To me, this is what they're for, right? It's like you're there to please the audience, and it's out of a comic book, you know, it's out of a comic environment. So you need to, you know, you can be creative, but also you have to make sure that you don't lose the audience. And so that's where you have to do fan servicing also a lot in those. A lot of people are arguing that the entire script, the entire plot it's not really a plot. So as much as actually it's just straight up pure fan servicing, and it's just like, we want the 3 Spider-Man in there. Like, doesn't matter how we get them in there. Ned, now he's got the power to open portals. That's how we get them in. Do you know what I'm saying? Is that there's a lot of people that are saying, "Oh,
but it's still different to the comics. Like they do this all the time in the comics."
I disagree that there is a plot in there. I mean, you could have done the ending without the other Spider-Man in there, but it wouldn't have been as strong. But I would say that I agree. I mean, I can see people's point of view where they saying, "Oh, the self-indulgent conversations between different Spider-Man, it went on a bit long." But at the same time, if you didn't have that, if you just had them pop in, give Tom Holland a big hug, and then sod off again, it would just be like a glorified cameo, and people would be like, what's the point in that? You kind of needed those conversations. If you met your alternative self from another universe, of course you would ask a bunch of questions and compare notes. Why wouldn't you? So it made sense that they would, like, you know, complain, tell each other about their back issues and ask where their web stuff comes from. It made sense. I mean, and also, if you're going to get those actors in the movie, you're not going to waste your money and just get them to take a couple of lines and then go away, right?
True.
Yeah.
No, I just thought it was funny that because it's again the same argument I have with people online. It's like, you guys know it's comics. Like, yeah, there's a certain amount of things that have to make sense, things that have to be working in reality. But at the end of it, there's no need for this. You can literally go any which way you want. Like, it doesn't really matter if the guy just walks out of a portal that somebody's used this magic he didn't know he had before. So it's like, doesn't matter as long as it works, as long as the chemistry between actors is great. and everything around it is good,
Yeah.
and how it makes you feel, you know.
And I don't think that argument in particular stands up, just because we know that the spell has brought people that know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man to that universe. So naturally, that's going to involve Peter Parker himself, because he knows he is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So that's how they're able to do that. That doesn't necessarily stand. The plot argument is, there was a certain point where I was like, does this film have a plot? And it does. It's just quite a weak one. Like it's a very small spine somewhere deep down inside the film, with all this other stuff going on around it. Because essentially it's, everyone knows who Spider-Man is. How does that affect them in the first half?
Yeah, so it's a plot from an actual comic, because he I can't remember which one it is, but he goes
One More Day.
Yeah, One More Day. He goes to Mephisto, doesn't he? And it was practically the exact same scenario, where he messes the spell up and all that kind of stuff and screws them over. And
he wanted that. Took away the memories, but wanted their marriage.
Yes, Mephisto is back. Knew it. Called it.
Which again was that whole which was a big conspiracy theory of like, was it Doctor Strange?
Or was it Mephisto? I know.
But I think it's not. I don't think they're bringing Mephisto until a lot later. I do think, like I say, that was Doctor Strange just being very, very cocky.
Yeah. It's possible. That's his character, isn't it? So he's got that cockiness about it.
Yeah.
But again, and that's what I would say to people that are listening, is like, you have to remember that this is the beginning of Phase 4, and Marvel they're playing chess. They're just putting their stuff out there, and then eventually you'll all get together. It all makes sense to why. Well, maybe the plot was a bit weak for that one, because they needed to introduce something else, like a new concept within this, the main storyline of the entire part. What was it? Part 4 of the MCU. What is it called? Phase 4. So that's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. So yeah, it will make sense eventually, and in the grand scheme of things, we'll look back at this movie and it'll be like, oh my god, so much fun. I mean, it did what it was meant to be doing for me. It was like I was entertained for 2.5 hours, and I forgot about everything else for 2.5 hours, and it was fun for 2.5 hours, and no crying, of course. Let's move on to what James said we should be doing, which is the conspiracy theories around the movie. Like you've got some stuff for us. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have any, because I don't want
so many
to think about it for too long. Go on, hit me. We'll tell you if they make sense or not.
Okay,
go with your favorites.
All right, so I've forgotten his name now.
Daredevil.
No.
What's strange? Wong.
Ned. Right. Ned. Okay. So Ned. Right. So there's a scene where Ned's talking to Toby, and it's all about his best friend turning evil, and he doesn't want to turn evil. So obviously that's going to lead to something, because he doesn't know Peter Parker, so he hasn't had that whole influence of a best friend. So he could have actually been quite a toxic character now, because of being bullied and all that, because they were like the only friends that they had. So he could have quite a dark character arc now. And in the comics, he's a hobgoblin. So, theory, because he's also got magic into it now, that he becomes hobgoblin because he's seen Green Goblin and thinks, oh, this is an amazing person to image myself, because there's no Green Goblin now from what we got. In a lot of these Green Goblin storylines, he becomes like a big monster, which we see in the Spider-Verse film. That version of Green Goblin is a big monster. So my theory is that he's going to work with Juan, gets a spell, and turn himself into a hobgoblin monster. So he's going to look like what the Green Goblin monster is, but it's hobgoblin, and that's their twist of using a goblin, but not the Green Goblin. If that makes sense.
God, that's a good one. I want to buy into it. Hell yeah, I'm buying.
There's so many like fan art of him being like looking like the Hobgoblin, because like I say, he turns into that in the comics. But I think to make him more of a villain, make him into a monster, and then Tom Holland has that whole dilemma of do I kill a friend kind of thing.
Because you will.
Yeah.
It's no dilemma.
Well,
right
does
there.
he?
Go.
You know, there's that. There's the whole Venom thing, obviously, that's leading into the black suit, which we see him wearing some kind of black suit because that's just his suit in reverse, which I thought was quite a good way of bringing it into it. But what I found really interesting was at the end of Venom 2, he gets transported into the MCU. And I had, this was even before any of the whole reason why these characters are in the film. I kept thinking, like, how the hell did he bring him into it? And it was a shout out to what's it called, Emergency Awesome, who's a really big like comic book YouTuber. He pretty much explains it perfectly. Of that in the at the end of Venom 2, Venom talks about like they have a shared hive mind throughout the multiverse. So Venom everywhere knows who Tom Holland knows who Peter Parker is. So that's why that Venom is in it. So again, for future films, they could have loads of Venoms just appear. And I think they'll go and do a whole, they won't do Carnage because they've already done Carnage and failed massively with Venom 2. So I think that they'll bring in Anti-Venom at some point.
Yeah.
Because he is like the next strong Venom, and his whole thing is that his powers kill Peter Parker. So I think that's going to be a big twist on how they're going to do the Venom arc. That it's good. I don't know who turns into Anti-Venom. I can't remember the name of the character, but I have a strong feeling that's how they're going to do the whole Venom thing. That he gets the black suit, but not for long, and then I think it then goes into some other character to be Anti-Venom.
I'm quite excited to see what Venom with Marvel under Marvel will do, because I know the Sony ones. I don't know. I've seen the first one. I've not seen the second one just yet. Venom 2.
Yeah, you're not missing much.
I don't think the particular, like, even the first one I saw it about 2 or 3 times, and every time I'm like, I want to like it, but also I absolutely hate it. So I don't think it's what's his face, Tom. Oh, I forgot his name now.
Tom Holland.
No, Hardy.
Tom Hardy.
Oh,
sorry,
Hardy. Yes, yeah.
Tom Hardy. He's a great actor, so it's not because of him. I don't know. There's something that just doesn't quite work for me. I think visually, even the way he looks is a bit weird to me, even though it's very close to what the comic is. But I don't know. It just doesn't really work. I mean, the story in the first one was a bit ass, you know. It's like,
oh yeah, that made no sense whatsoever.
Nothing for you to cry at, was there, Tom?
No, there's no crying.
I think you need a hero. You need a hero, a real hero, not an anti-hero, a real hero.
Oh God, no. But yeah, no. The first Venom was meh. The second one, yet to pass a judgment. I'll see. I'll try and get it out the way at some point. Yeah, I'm excited to see what sort of treatment, like you said, who are they going to? Surely they will get another actor in to be Venom or Anti-Venom. I agree that could be the way they go.
They have the opportunity because he was transported back. He can now that the actual substance, the symbiote, is in the MCU. It could be anyone. It could be the bartender.
We get
that's
Mexican
a good point,
Venom.
actually. Yeah. Yeah, because he is the offspring, and that's what the whole Carnage thing is. That he's the offspring of Venom. This Toxin, I think, is it Toxin? One of the symbiotes. He's like top half's red, bottom half's black, like the color scheme of him. He's like meant to be one of the strongest Venoms, the symbiote. Sorry,
symbiote.
So there's obviously that, and I'll have to bring it up because my dad had this whole theory, right? So the whole spell, and I don't actually agree with this one, but the whole spell is everyone forgets who Peter Parker is. His theory is that travels into the multiverse. So all these Peter Parkers that have now come into the film, when they go back into the real world, they've been forgotten about. So Tobey Maguire's going to have to deal with MJ not knowing him, and then Andrew Garfield's not having to deal with Aunt May not knowing him, and all that kind of stuff that links into more films into the future. Of like they come back for that reason of like, you fucked us over, mate. You need to solve this problem for us now. Which again could lead into the new Spider-Verse film, because the interesting thing on that was none of the Spider-Men of Into the Spider-Verse were actually called Peter Parker.
Yeah.
The only one that was got killed off. Actually, no, sorry, tell lie. There was obviously one, wasn't there?
Old one.
Yeah. And beaten down Spider-Man is how I call them. But you know, the rest of them, they're not Spider-Men. They're either like Gwen or their child and stuff like that. So
yeah,
there's another reason why they could be brought back into it as well.
Yeah, actually, you mentioned Miles. There's the little bit of talk between Spider-Man and Jamie Foxx going, "Hey, maybe there's going to be a black Spider-Man."
He's
wink,
name
wink.
dropped in the first one. He's he's in a deleted scene. That they name drop him at one point.
Hopefully soon. Miles is badass.
And they were saying that what's his name? Childish Gambino. What's his real name? Danny. It's not Danny Glover. Donald Glover.
Oh yeah.
That his character who pops up in the first one, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And makes the trade in the car park that he could play Miles's uncle.
Yeah,
he is his uncle.
Yeah, he's the uncle. So
they name drop him, don't they?
Yeah. So he could be the Prowler.
Prowl.
That's it. And the interesting thing is they talk about him being this little kid, but obviously they've got the time jump now because he could have not been snapped, had the extra 5 years, so he could catch up with Tom Holland now.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all too exciting. All right, you've had enough of your theories. I think that's more than enough.
Yeah,
we can go on for another six hours.
Just before we go, sorry.
Oh God, you've got one.
I hate to do it. I made one note during the whole film, and I forgot to mention it when we got to that point. But I just have in my notes, it says Spidey. Then underneath Spidey, Dr. Strange said, if they die, they die. Rocky.
Is it
the Rocky universe and the multiverse are going to combine to make one verse where Adrian's alive.
Adrian. Yeah, sure.
Heard it here first.
I thought I was crazy with my conspiracy theory.
Heard it here first.
Okay, so let's stop it right here because there's anything you can follow up with. If you want to go and fight Dave online, you can find him on Twitter.
You will lose.
Talk more about conspiracies another time.
Yes, we'll do a conspiracy at some point, but I don't know. Right, let's wrap this up then because it's been going on for an hour and a half and people have things to do.
Well, thank you and thank you all guys for having me, and I really enjoyed talking about Spider-Man. As
Sarah is dropping off because she needs to run, go and catch her. She's on Twitter as well. I don't remember your Twitter handle, but go and look her up. She does anime stuff, she does books, she does everything you want to watch. That's it. Anyway, thank you for listening, everyone. We'll be back some point soon, for something else or another related to nerd stuff. Again, see my presentation skills have evolved. Again, thanks Sarah for coming on, and thanks James from How to Game Differently.
And Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. You can find James How to Game Differently on YouTube, on everywhere. Social media is all How to Game Differently, right?
Twitter's HTG differently. Instagram is How to Game Differently, and How to Game Differently on YouTube.
And go subscribe to his YouTube channel because it's fun. There's a lot of good videos. And Dave, you'll find him also on the Grit and Grind Basketball podcast, where we talk more crap, but this time about basketball, and it's all relevant.
Bye.
None of it is trash talk. Anyway, goodbye, everyone.